right, ladies and gentlemen, we are right here. So I hope with your breakfast energies intact, we are all set to focus on the next session. Well, I would hardly allow you any tech sabbaticals on the platform today. I would rather expect and anticipate that you are all ears, focusing on all the key themes. And of course, our most esteemed set of speakers who would be joining bit by bit to address you all, to talk about what's brimming up latest. Well, our keynote session that's right here will focus on women leaders in government, NGOs, and corporate India. We will talk about their views and opinion, and in fact, focus on women healthcare per se in India, the national health policies, the changes in attitude and approach towards women healthcare and the well-being. And whenever we say well-being, we mean it holistically. Well, of course, it will be actionable in the sense that there will be some case studies, some key figures that will be also talked about. What really enables and disrupts women health, right? And how to provide quality access to care in a post-pandemic world that we are living in right now, and in fact, ongoing. Well, our distinguished chief guest would talk about the landscape of women healthcare across nations, current state, and key imperatives. Ladies and gentlemen, women's health, may I put it this way, is an indicator of a nation's, for that matter, a nation's political, social, and economic development. And it's observed that the Indian healthcare system requires discussions for sure, advocacy and research, everything, coupled together to make that mosaic, to underscore the women's health as one of the focus areas in research as well as implementation. Well, it gives me absolutely immense pleasure to be inviting our distinguished chief guest right on the screen for all of you there. Allow me to please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, as they say, exactly like how we do on ground. Let's have some very good vibes, because I am for sure going to extend some good round of applauses to welcome Anita Bhatia, the Deputy Executive Director for Resource Management, Sustainability and Partnerships, United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, UN Women. It's over to you, Ms. Bhatia.
I thank the Economic Times and Femina for inviting me to provide remarks at the Women's Healthcare Summit 2021. In the last few decades, the Government of India has undertaken several initiatives to strengthen the provision and delivery of health services. This has resulted in significant improvement on most health indicators. However, progress has remained uneven. The Vice President of India recently called for prioritizing women's health needs, especially to accelerate the decline in maternal mortality, which has gone from 254 to 113 per 100,000 live births in just over 10 years. An impressive achievement, but progress is still uneven and varies across the country. So, for example, in Kerala, these numbers are 43 for 100,000 live births, compared to Assam, where the number is as high as 250. So a great deal still needs to be done to ensure that progress becomes more even. Numerous challenges continue to block women's access to healthcare. First, with 75% of India's healthcare infrastructure in urban areas, women residing in rural and remote areas, we know, have to travel significant distances to access healthcare. There is an opportunity through the use of mobile and wireless technologies to transform health service delivery. But here too, women face barriers. According to India's 5th National Family Health Survey, we know that only 42% of Indian women have ever used the internet, compared with 62% of men. The digital divide is especially deep in rural areas where only 34% of women have ever used the internet. So these kinds of unequal gender norms, stigma, and discrimination explain why women lack information, have restricted mobility, and little time to access healthcare facilities. Women often have less access to financial resources. They have overwhelming caregiving responsibilities, they face violence, and they are limited in their ability to make independent decisions about their own health. However, we know that when women are informed of their rights and empowered to demand them, they will, in fact, line up outside clinics to seek services. We know that balancing gender equality can actually help in planning things better in healthcare. Women's and girls' voices and leadership has to be at the heart of global health to ensure that healthcare initiatives are being designed in direct response to the needs and priorities identified by women themselves. At the UN Commission on the Status of Women this year, the priority theme was women's full and effective participation and decision-making in public life. And we emphasized in that commission the significant role of women in the COVID-19 response and recovery, whether as frontline workers, nurses, or caregivers at home. The commission concluded that it was necessary to strengthen the full, equal, and meaningful participation and leadership of women in all stages of the COVID-19 response and recovery. And yet, we know that women are woefully underrepresented in global health decision-making. We know that through our gender policy tracker tool, where we have looked at measures in 206 countries and territories across the world, that of the 334 COVID-19 task forces that were set up in the world, the proportion of women represented in these task forces is only 24%. And yet, nurses are predominantly women, healthcare givers during the crisis are predominantly women. In fact, 80% of the world's population of nurses are women. Why then are there so few women represented at the top in decision-making in a field where they are overrepresented at the bottom? I'd like to address the issue of good health and well-being and how that is connected to economic growth. We know that good health and well-being are built on the human right to physical and mental health. Good health is a key factor in people's well-being. It allows them to invest in education, in skills, to access quality jobs, and generally to enjoy better quality of life. Our data from 162 countries shows that vaccination rates, reproductive health, death rates, life expectancy, and disease prevention rates are actually considerably better in countries where women's rights are respected. The knock-on effects are that healthy people are better able to participate in the economy. The ability of a woman to control her own body impacts her ability to engage in economic, social, and public life. If a woman does not have full autonomy over her health and her body, it is very difficult for her to participate in the labor force on her own terms. I'd like to discuss briefly some recent women's healthcare initiatives and policies. During COVID-19, the government of India has made significant efforts to meet women's healthcare needs. It effectively leveraged the 680 one-stop centers, provided a psychosocial helpline, and invested in women's shelters to ensure continued access to justice and essential services for women and girls affected by violence during the pandemic. With the Ministry of Women and Child Development and select state departments, UN Women and UNFPA collectively invest in capacity enhancement for over 600 counselors, legal officers, and staff at the one-stop centers in 5 states, which helps these centers to respond to the needs of women who are survivors of violence or fear that they may be facing violence at home. In response to the crisis in India, UN Women and the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology launched a special initiative. The My Government initiative, called Shri Shakti, encourages technology-led solutions by women entrepreneurs to deal with the unique challenges that women and girls faced during the pandemic. Initiatives like this, built for women, by women, help to create a foundation of gender equality and a pathway for a healthier India. I'd like to leave you with 4 key takeaways. First, gender equality and women's empowerment is absolutely key to building forward better and to achieving inclusive economic growth and healthier outcomes for all. Second, it is critical to get political buy-in and to work with national and local authorities to reform discriminatory laws and policies and unequal norms and unconscious biases to break down the barriers that hinder women in accessing quality healthcare. Third, to empower women and girls with education and knowledge is the best possible investment that one can make in terms of achieving good development outcomes. This allows women and girls to make informed choices about their health, and this will lead, as we know from the experience of many countries, to healthier outcomes. And finally, investing in women in all their diversity as leaders and decision makers in healthcare and beyond is vital for accessible, affordable, acceptable, and quality healthcare. I wish you well in your deliberations, and I thank you for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for those wishes. And of course, here's to your vision, our vision collectively, a healthier India. Thank you very, very much, Ms. Bhatia, for being really that force to reckon with, I would like to say, and for literally throwing the light on women's health, how important it is, the diseases, the revelation around the health index. For that matter, also the emotionally intelligent perspective that we also need to have, apart from caring for our personal brand and also the career advancement. Because when we say holistic, every aspect, every facet of a woman's health, be it mental, emotional, and physical, is taken into account. Ms. Bhatia, it was pivotal to have you over our forum here today, and thank you very, very much for your perspectives. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Amrit Manthan already. We are churning just the right kind of knowledge from, as I said, the most distinguished and the elite experts. So what are we waiting for? Let's make sure that our official hashtag, which is hashtag ET Women's Health, is trending out there on social media. You can, as I said, whatever you learned, whatever you felt was something that the world needs to know out there. So somebody who's not even watched this session, let them just search this by the official hashtag, and the key learnings, our respective perception of the addresses that we are witnessing is different, right? We are unique in our own ways. So make sure those perspectives are reigning in on social media. Don't forget to use our official hashtag. Yes, let's be absolutely on point, and let's just show the right kind of energies, be right there and keep sharing the dialogues that we are witnessing. On that note, if you all just, I'm assuming, giving me a thumbs up, if I ask you, what's the need to understand if the Indian healthcare system really, if we talk about, does it really treat the women of the country in a fair and a just manner? You can just, virtually, if I can sense the vibe, give me a thumbs up, or, whatever you feel. This is something that we are going to discuss. So I'm sure you're looking forward to that, right? You got to stay tuned, because we are coming up with our guest of honor address now, where we will be ensuring optimum healthcare facilities to women. How? Just stay tuned. We'll be right back.